In this updated video, I'm going to go over and answer the question, how do these foreclosures get their list price? Normally people ask me this because the initial price is high. I can promise you 90+% of all my listings, they're always high. And there's a reason for this, and that's what I'm going to explain and show you in this video. Now this is an updated video. I've covered this subject before, but there's a couple of things in this video I want to point out. And I have a perfect real-life example property I want to share with you. And I'm also going to share some correspondence between the asset manager for the bank and myself concerning the initial list price. So I'm going to cover some key points to the process on how they come up with a list price. I'm also going to show you and debunk some of the myths and misconceptions a lot of people out there have about how the banks come up with their list price. So step one in the process, and this is going to be the same for every single listing that you see out there that has a listing agent attached to it, which if it's on the MLS, there's going to be someone that's going to be in charge of that property. It doesn't matter if it's a bank foreclosure or if it's an auction property or if it's a HUD property, no matter what it is, there's going to be a listing agent. This listing agent is going to be tasked with doing a listing agent BPO or broker price opinion. This is going to be the very first step that all these properties are going to go through to get their list price. Step two is going to depend strictly on what the seller's policies and procedures are. They're either going to do one of two things. They're either going to order a full-blown licensed appraisal on the property, or they're going to order a secondary supplementary BPO or broker price opinion from another agent. A majority of the corporate sellers are going to go the BPO route. And the reason why? Well, first, it's much cheaper. And second, the time frames. It's a lot quicker to get a BPO back from an agent than it is to order an appraisal from a licensed appraiser. There are some companies out there like Fannie Mae's and HUD and reverse mortgages that are always going to have the listing agent BPO, and they are going to order an appraisal. They normally will never get a secondary BPO from an agent. They always order an appraisal. But most all your other companies, most of your other big banks and stuff, they're only going to get a BPO from another agent. And that's where the big problem comes in. So let me go a little bit deeper and explain. So these companies that order a secondary or supplementary BPO, they're ordering these through a BPO company. We call them BPO mills. All they do is churn out BPOs. They have a network of agents where they go through and assign these orders, or they put them on blast emails, and the first agent to respond gets the assignment. Normally they pay $50 for a drive-by and maybe $90 to $100 for an interior. Now the interior, they're supposed to go inside the property and do the exact same thing the listing agent is going to do. They're going to pull 3 active comps, 3 sold comps. They're going to list all the repairs needed. They're going to give the bank an estimate of the repair cost. They're going to give them an as-is value, and they're going to give them an after-repaired value, exactly like the listing agent does. Well, the problem is that typically, and this happens 99.9% of the time, the listing agent BPO is going to come in much lower than the secondary BPO. And unfortunately, a lot of the agents that are doing these kind of BPOs don't really care and don't want to put forth too much effort because they're only getting $100. They've got to drive the property. They've got to spend a couple hours pulling comps, entering all the data, doing the photos, all that stuff. They want to do them as fast as possible. So a lot of these reports that I see or hear on my properties that need roofs, they need flooring, paint, they'll come back when the agent will say that there's no repairs needed. So that just means the values are going to be way, way off. Now, besides the seller using a listing agent BPO, an appraisal, or a secondary BPO, they also have other means they're going to use to come up with values. They're going to use Realtor.com, they're going to use Zillow, and a lot of these companies have their own proprietary valuation software. So they're going to pull a lot of different data to come up with these values, but the number one bottom line rule is they're going to go off the highest value they're given. So let's say that the secondary BPO agent came in at $140,400 for this property, and let's say the listing agent came in at $70,000. Well, they're not going to split the middle. They're normally going to go right from the top. They're going to go off that highest value and normally list it at the $140,400 value that they're given from the secondary BPO. And I'm going to show you proof of that in this video. So before I wrap up this video and I show you the example foreclosure that I have, I want to make sure everyone out there understands one of the biggest misconceptions that I hear all the time about the list prices for these foreclosures. Most people assume that the list price is a direct effect of what's owed on the property. In other words, whatever the bank has in the property, their final judgment amount, that's what they're going to list it for to try to get their money back. But these servicers cannot list properties based on what's owed on the property. They can only list them on market value, because if not, they're not going to sell. I want to show you the final judgment document for this property that I'm talking about, and you're going to see right here that the loan amount that's owed in the property at the foreclosure was over $121,000. But the final judgment amount, and that's the total amount the court system will allow the will allow the bank to recoup, the final judgment amount of this property is over $167,000. Now, they list this property for $140,400. That's $140,400. So they listed it over the amount owed, but they listed it less than the final judgment amount. This is just a good example that that theory is incorrect. So if you ever hear anyone say that, just remember, you heard it from me, that banks do not list their properties based on what's owed on it. They list them based on market value. So this is an example property that I want to show you just how bad these values come in. This is the inside. This is the kitchen. You can see it's been totally gutted. The floors are all jacked. It's got some rotten joist, obviously, because it's got a bad slant. It's got some pretty massive wood rot because the roof is shot and there's got leak issues. I mean, this house is a mess. Well, there's the kitchen sink. Look, they took the ceilings out. This is the living room flooring that's all got water damage, that's buckling up. This is the little den when you first walk in the front door. I mean, this floor is ruined. You can see all the rotted subfloor. There's ceiling issues throughout the entire house. Here's the guest full bathroom, bathroom number 1. I mean, this has to be totally remodeled. Everything needs to be gutted basically to the studs. This is why these values to me are so ridiculous, because they're so lazy. I mean, there's just no way this house should have been appraised by an agent as is for $140K. This is the master bedroom, and there's holes in the floor in this room. You got water damage in the window wall there, and this is the master bathroom. This thing has to be totally, remodeled, rebuilt. There's nothing in here you'd want to keep. You'd want to gut it all and redo it, of course. But the banks are going to take the highest value they're given. They're not going to listen to, me, the listing agent, when I say it's worth, $60,000 and somebody else says it's worth $140,000, as you're going to see an example of this in the email that I show you here pretty soon. Here's another quick example. The agent said this house needed no repairs, none. Look at the roof. The roof's shot, missing shingles. Here's the floor. Look at that carpet. It's stained. Okay, so now you understand how the valuation process works. You've seen this property. You know how much work it needs. You know it's in really bad shape. You know as well as I do, it's nowhere near $140,000. That's why it's had 0 showings. So let me share with you the actual message I got from the asset manager once they posted the listing contract. This is a message I received from the asset manager. Sorry, SUP came in very high, meaning the secondary value came in really high. My response, the value is just outrageous. Can I please review the second opinion at least? This doesn't make any sense. The land isn't even nowhere near that much. This will add months to the process. The asset manager's final response, I figured that would be your response. I'm sorry, no. So they wouldn't let me review the second opinion value. I don't know why, like it's a big deal. All right, that's it for this video. I hope you found it educational. You'll learn something. The next time you see an overpriced foreclosure listing in your market, you're going to know why. If you have any questions, please leave them below. As always, I really appreciate it. Make sure and hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. Thanks and have a great day.